On Blues Radio International, Jesse and Audrey continuing our viral, antiviral world tour. And this time, we stop in beautiful Hudson Valley, New York, for a master of the blues, our friend Ted Horowitz, a.k.a. Popa Chubby. How are you?
Greetings, my friends. I am very well. Thank you for asking. I love you both, and I love you all. And thank you for doing what you do.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to be with you today. I was wondering whether you could tell us what you're going to treat us to first here.
This is called No Justice, No Peace. And I'm going to lay this on you right now. You can't run with a boot on your neck. You can't scream when you got no air. You can cry for your mama just a little bit. Well, your voice is no longer there. You can't see the eyes looking horrified, not believing what they see. Not a hand to free. Your dying light was left to set you free. Only one thing I know for sure: devil's been released. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No hand of God will make the fire cease. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. You can't hide in a bunker of lies while the goon squad beats the crowd. You can't hold up the Bible outside a church like you're some kind of crowd. You can't turn the guns on your citizens, expect them to comply. It's America, and the people say no more black men die. One thing that I know for sure: devil's been released. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No hand of God make it cease. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. That's the first one. So.
Wow, that is really a beautiful piece of writing and a very important one for us now. What's it like in your home studio there as you sit for this extended period of time and you have the opportunity to be in one place for a fixed period of time of unknown duration? What's that like for a musician who's been on the road for 30 plus years?
Can I be completely honest with you?
Absolutely.
I've never been happier in my life
Oh.
than I have in the last 3 months, and that's such a paradox. I've been on the road for 30 years. I bought this house 20 years ago, and in 20 years, if I've spent an entire year in this house in 20 years, it would have been a lot of time. So since March 16th, I've been home, and it's good to be home. Is that a dog in your lap?
My cat actually came in and crawled across the desk. That's why I was like,
has some appendages. I'm not sure. I don't want to know about that there.
No, this guy right here.
Hey, kitty cat. How you doing?
He decided he was gonna climb across my desk. He's a big boy.
Anyway, not to.
No, we interrupt everything for pets.
Not to diminish what you were saying. I am so sorry, Ted.
Animals and children take precedence. Anyway, I'm real happy. I've been remarkably creative. I've been churning out new songs, and I've been posting them, and they've all been very socially conscious songs, and I'm glad that's what's coming out. And again, I will say that I get a lot of diverse opinions from people on social media. Either people are way behind what I'm doing, or they say, you artists, and this is a common comment or reply I get, you artists should stick to your day jobs.
Oh, no.
Okay? And I said, well, what about Bob Dylan or Woody Guthrie? What about Bob Marley? And the list goes on and 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 on. What about Gary Clark Jr., man? It's an artist's obligation to tell the truth. It's an artist's obligation to have an opinion, man. And I sincerely believe that, and I always have, and I've based and built my career on that. And I'm looking at a poster from a record I made way back in the early 2000s when George Bush was president, and I was not happy at the time. And the title of the record was Peace, Love, and Respect, and the symbols that represented that were peace sign, a heart, and the middle finger for respect. And when I put that record out, I had people sending me hate mail, sending me mail saying, I listened to your music for 10 years. I'm burning all your records. I get the same thing now, man. There's a lot of derision, and people are very afraid to have their opinions challenged or their beliefs threatened in any way. And I'm not an a-hole about it, man. I don't try I mean, look, I'm a New Yorker. If you get in my face, I'm going to get back in yours. You know, that's just the way we are. But I do consider myself a very tolerant, opinionated but tolerant person. I'm tolerant of anybody's opinion as long as it's put forth in respectful and in a way that should provoke thought and conversation. That's what we should be doing now, and we're not doing that, man. And it's and then there are lines that are just not crossed. You know, one comment I got was, so you care more about somebody killed than you care about a black man being killed than you do about all this property being destroyed? And the answer is an obvious yes, of course I do. The property can all be replaced. This is a life that was lost. And I look, I don't mean to just focus on this and jump right on this, but it's like not talking about the elephant in the room, you know? So I laid that song on you for better or worse. And, you know, I will play some blues too.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that. But we also are in a very historic time in so many ways.
We really are.
And that's something that we can't ignore. So I appreciate your social consciousness. But I also very much appreciate your incredibly deep blues.
Yes.
What strikes you as the appropriate thing to play next?
Well, you know, I would have to play a song, a hopeful song, a song of hope. And this is called Here we go. This is called The Best Is Yet to Come. And this is a song off. This is an interesting year. I was supposed to be celebrating my 30th year on the road in 2020. I was booked through March 2021. Everything's you know what? That's the way it is, man, and I'm okay with it. I do want to give a quick shout out to Rick Booth and Intrepid Artists International for just being such great, wonderful people. I love Rick and all those guys with all my heart, and especially Rick, man. I've really watched him handle this thing with, you know, I swear to God, we should vote Rick Booth for president, man. He'd do it. He'd do a good job, man. The guy really cares about his people, man.
And he's been a leader. He's been a great force in our community.
Yes, he really has, and he's just a good guy, man. And in this business, that's something that's, you know, there are a lot of good people in this business, but it's something that you really have to cherish. So this is called The Best Is Yet to Come, man. And I mean this. And if you're feeling down and lonely, you're feeling troubled, just hang on there, because it's the best is yet to come. I give you my personal guarantee. So this goes like this.
You're feeling down and lonely, see you can't go on. I got something for you, baby, make your spirit strong. Road is dark and lonely, know it's dark and long. sun is gonna shine again, gonna make your spirit strong. This is yet to come. This is yet to come. Don't give up before the magic comes. The best is yet to come. Well, if you're feeling that you can't go on, feeling life is rough, rainbow that you're looking for is never quite enough. Don't give up, my darling, you know it's coming soon. Love that you are searching for, it's right there with the moon. This is yet to come. This is yet to come. Don't give up before the magic comes. The best is yet to come. Everybody hurts inside. Everybody cries. Let your darkness go. Open up your eyes, yeah, yeah. And if you're worried about tomorrow, your anxiety is strong. Let me tell you something now, tomorrow never comes. We're all living for the moment. You know you're smoking hot. Don't let the devil fool you into thinking that you're not. Best is yet to come. Best is yet to come. Don't be up before the magic comes. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. Best is yet to come. And that's a fact.
That's beautiful. Look at that manly drink.
It's my skull mug. The only reason I use this cup is because it holds a whole pot of espresso.
Oh my goodness.
Which is the only way to start my day.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
So, we were talking before we got started about your band cave that you've got there and that it's filled with guitars and gear and stuff that you've collected along the way. But I see you playing that guitar most of the time.
It's remarkable, isn't it? I mean,
what is the story there?
I'll tell you the story. I have a good friend. His name is Big Ed Sullivan. He's a staple of the New York City blues music scene. He's hosted the same jam for 25 years in the Village. And he's been my friend for over 35 years. And he's had a lot of health problems. And I've helped him get back and forth to the hospital a bunch of times. And he called me once and asked me to help him bring some guitars down because he was going to sell them. And this was one of them. And I said, Ed, I'll just buy them from you. So I bought this guitar from him. And it's a 66 Fender Stratocaster. And when I bought it, it had all the finish on it. And as you can see, it now is completely played and bare. And it's my number one and pretty much my only. I mean, I have a lot of guitars, and I do play them. I use them for recording. I like playing them, but I always come back to this one, man. It's just, it's like a hand in a glove.
So what is it about it other than the sentimental value?
Mojo, baby. It's
yeah.
called Mojo, man. You know, serious mojo, vibe for days. Yeah, that's it, man. It's like when you go into the guitar shop and the guy says, listen, man, I got this guitar. It's got serious mojo. What does that mean?
Oh.
Mojo.
I once tried. I was producing an Italian band, and they were covering. They were trying to cover Hoochie Coochie Man. So I tried to explain to them what a mojo was, and then I also had to explain to them what John the Conqueror was.
Oh boy!
Difficult. There's no translation in Italian for John the Conqueror. Well, the best way was the way they said John the Conqueror. I got it, John the Conqueror. So, blues isn't, like you guys know, the blues is international, man.
Sure.
It truly is.
Very.
It's a universal language.
Yeah.
I mean, it no matter what you flavor it.
And it's amazing having traveled so much to see it, and also having started 30 years ago, to see how widespread it's become just in the last 10 years. I mean, in the last 10 years, the blues has really gotten international, man. And now, with the IBCs and stuff, it's so cool. It's really a beautiful thing, man.
And so you said you've been playing blues for 30 years, or have you been playing music for 30 years?
No, I've been playing music since I'm 16 and I'm 60. But I started the Popa Chubby band in 1989, and I was playing blues. I was playing Muddy Waters songs and all the other blues that I loved, man. I was doing blues covers in clubs around New York, man, and then I started writing my own songs, and so I've been playing blues for 30 years. My own version, admittedly, maybe not your grandfather's blues, maybe not your father's blues, but definitely blues for all the people. And when I started, my first business card said Popa Chubby, blues for all the people, and that's all I ever wanted to do was make everybody happy.
Well, I know your songs make me happy. Is there anything else you'd like to play for us today?
Sure, let me do an old one for you, man. This is
please.
Kind of where it started for me, and we were talking about some really cool stuff before. So the best songs are usually written in 10 or 15 minutes. And
right, just like that.
This one was no exception. You have to allow the muse to rule your life if you want to be a songwriter. And the muse can be vicious sometimes, and the muse can be kind. And sometimes the muse is going to grab you and shake you, and sometimes the muse is going to caress you. This was a case where I was smitten. I was young and smitten and afraid beyond any chance to ever express my feelings for this beautiful woman who was a bartender in the club I played every Tuesday night. She was 6 foot tall. She was a honey blonde from Texas, and I just watched her from afar behind the bar every night as she scooped up suds and threw it out to
mesmerized.
So I sat down. I was a little early to the gig once, and I sat down. It was a beautiful early summer day, and I hear somebody say, "Popa Chubby, honey, move out of my way." And I turn around, and it's her. It's her. It's the woman, and she has a keg of beer on each shoulder. And
no way.
To walk up 2 flights of stairs with 2 kegs of beer. Now, I can't say for sure these kegs were full, but I'm pretty sure they were.
That's a woman.
That's realness.
And so I wrote this song for her, and this is the song that in 1995 got me signed to Sony OK Records, and I was very fortunate enough. The only reason I took the deal was because they offered the opportunity to work with Tom Dowd as a producer. So Tom Dowd produced this record and changed my life forever. And it's called Sweet Goddess of Love and Beer. So I'll do it.
All right.
Baby, I want you to know how much I love you, how far I'd go just to get with you, just to get near. You're my goddess of love and beer. Baby, I want you to see how sweet our life could really be. I love you, baby, the baby's clear. You're my goddess of love
try to quench my thirst, please. Drink of your loving, make my pain disappear. You're my goddess of love and beer. Tell me now. Oh yeah. Oh baby. Goddess of love and beer. Goddess of love and beer. My goddess of love and beer. My goddess of love and beer. You're my goddess of love and beer. Baby, baby, make no mistake. You leave me, girl, my heart's gonna break. Break for a day, baby, break for a year. You're my goddess of love and beer. Gotta help me now. Alright. Oh yeah. Oh baby. Goddess of love and beer. Goddess of love and beer. My goddess of love and beer. My goddess of love and beer. My goddess of love and beer.
There we go. I even gave you one of those at the end.
I love that bit. Yeah.
I don't do that for everybody.
Aw,
That's
thank
very,
you.
it's all very special. Does she know that you wrote this song about her?
Yeah, her name, I don't remember her last name. She was an actress. Her name was Farrah, and she was actually on the TV series Wings, which I barely remember. I think, but I had seen her after I got signed, and I let her know, and she was like, oh, yeah, great, thanks, see you later. So,
Oh no.
there you go.
Aw.
But I was way over her by that point anyway. I was on to New Heartbreak, so
Yeah.
It's a blues song, so that's okay.
I'll tell you what, it's emblazoned permanently in her iPod. Don't kid yourself.
I
Yeah, right.
hope so, man. I certainly hope so.
You've had the ability over the years to play in front of a lot of audiences, and you were talking before about the universality of blues. I believed that when I started Blues Radio International in 2012, but I had no idea what was out there and how vibrant the blues scene is in so many parts of the world where I think folks in America would be quite surprised. Where have been the most interesting places that you found blues?
Not only vibrant, but diverse. Well, one place that really sticks out is every year there's a festival in Mumbai, India, called the Mahindra Blues Festival. Now, Mr. Mahindra, who I met, is an awesome man. He's a great, compassionate man who gives tons of money to charity. He also owns Mahindra Motors, who owns the patent for the Jeep. So he's an incredibly wealthy person in one of the poorest places in the world. Now, Mumbai might be poor material in a material sense, but it's rich in spirit and it's rich in soul. I played the Mahindra Blues Festival. I flew to India, to Mumbai. When you drive through the slums and ghettos of Mumbai, man, it blows your mind. But when you get to the venue, there's all these Indian people there and Indian blues bands that were incredible. I mean, remarkable, man. I mean, I've seen stuff like that just blew my mind. And then you're in Mumbai, India, playing with all these great people. And I mean, I don't even remember who was on the festival, man. It was like Robert Randolph and Walter Trout and me and Jimmy Thackeray, and they do it every year. And I even think that Buddy Guys Legends broadcasts a week of Mahindra Blues Festival from Buddy's Club in Chicago. So that definitely sticks out, man. Going to Paris for the first time and being welcomed with open arms France is my biggest market in Europe. And I was scheduled to play the Olympia Theater on March 11th this year. And it's not October 11th. It's been moved now to 2021. But, you play a venue like the Olympia in Paris. It's where Jimi Hendrix played, man. It's You're playing these legendary places, and the people, the love of the people is so huge, man. And all they want from you is for you to do what you do. And I can say in Europe, the European audience, in some ways, see, there's not just one European audience. That's the thing. It's diverse. If you go to Scandinavia, they want straight up swing and jump blues. That's what they love in Scandinavia. You go to Germany, they want hard rock blues. You go to Holland, it's a whole different story. Yeah, every market is different in Europe, and that's been the beauty of it. And somehow they've all accepted me, which has been great. I've been touring over there for years. I'm really kind of having a hard time that I won't be back to Europe this year, in all likelihood. And I'm trying to talk to fans about it, and but everything's been canceled. So,
well, you're with us now in front of an international audience, and so I'd like to know what you would play for that international audience.
Well, I'm going to play one of my favorite songs of all time, and this is a real blues song, man. And this song was written by three of the greatest people in music. It was written by Leon Russell, Donald Duck Dunn, and a gentleman named Don Nix. And a lot of people know the first two, but they don't know the third guy.
Don Nix, important.
Don Nix wrote some of the greatest songs in blues and rock and roll. And the trio of those people, when they worked with Leon Russell on Shelter Records, producing the great Freddie King, man. What Leon did for Freddie King, what to me was, and I have to say, not only Leon, at different periods in Freddie's career, Mike Vernon did a great job with Freddie King in the 70s when he did the Burglar record. But what Leon took Freddie in a real gut bucket. There are 2 or 3 records that Leon produced. One is called Getting Ready. And this next song is from a record called Getting Ready. And it's called I Got Them Same Old Blues. And this, to me, is one of the most beautiful songs because it doesn't have your standard blues changes. It has changes that are more like a standard song, almost as if Ray Charles or Hobie Carmichael would have written it, man. It's got that tradition to it. So I'll play this for you guys. And I'll offer this one up with love to Leon and his family, who I got to meet before he died, and also to the great Freddie King, who was one of the biggest influences in my life. So here we go.
Morning rain on my shoulder, like the tears falling from my eyes, as I sit in my room, staring out at the gloom. Yeah, it's the rain and the same old blues. Remember how the sun used to shine on my back door. Now the sun turned to rain. All my laughter turned to pain. Yeah, it's the rain and the same old blues. You're gonna miss my loving when it's gone. Miss my sweet touch and the way I carried on in your long father day before I went away. It's the rain and the same old blues. Someday, baby, you will remember my sweet, sweet smile and my tender caress, and you'll long for the day before I went away. It's the rain and the same old blues. Just the rain and the same old blues. Just the rain, yeah, and the same old blues.
What a song, huh? I wish I wrote that one, boy.
Yeah.
Well, it's a rainy day here, but it definitely doesn't feel like it.
I think it ever rained in Florida, but that's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It rains here all the time.
you're not supposed to reveal that part.
Oh, oopsie. So, did you find the blues or did the blues find you?
Oh, the blues definitely found me, and it found me when I was just like the song says. The blues overtook me when I was just a little boy. My dad was a huge music fan, as was my mother, and I grew up in the Bronx on 181st Street and Arthur Avenue, which it was a scene right out of the movie A Bronx Tale. My parents owned a candy store on the corner of those two streets, and there was a jukebox in the candy store, and the guy would come every week and change the top 40 records. When he took the old singles out, he would give them to me. So by the time I was like 7, I had spindles full of 45s that would play it over and over again. And the music of the day was mostly blues and R&B based, man. It was a lot of Motown, a lot of Tamla, a lot of Stax Volt, man. So that stuff bit me early on. And then when I became a teenager, it was all the blues rock that was playing, everywhere, man. All the bands you guys know about, the Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin and Cream. How a lot of white kids from the suburb came to the blues until an older guy turned me on to Freddie King, and completely changed my world. And then later on, somebody said, "You got to listen to B.B. King live at the Regal." And I heard that record, and I was like, "Holy cow!" And then somebody gave me a Muddy Waters tape, a cassette, right, full of Muddy Waters stuff, and I put it on. And this wasn't about. And of course, I had heard Muddy before, but I never really got into Muddy. Somebody, at the time, I was listening to a lot of funk and R&B, man. I was listening to a lot of James Brown and Ohio Players and stuff like that. That was a lot of the stuff that was getting played around in the New York bar scene, stuff like that, and the usual rock and stuff like that. I heard this Muddy Waters record, and I said to myself, "Wow, these guys sound just like the Rolling Stones."
Oh.
Right? And that was it. I was hooked. So I started the first version of the Popa Chubby Band, which was really interesting. We rehearsed. I lived on 6th Street and 1st Avenue in Manhattan in a one-room apartment, a one-room rent-controlled apartment. My upstairs neighbor roller skated in her apartment, in her one room, and I played guitar in mine, and nobody complained. And see, New York was always a very tolerant city. We had to be tolerant. We lived on top of each other. It was all cool, man. As long as nobody was cutting anybody or beating anybody up or robbing everybody, it was all good, man, And New Yorkers still have that mentality. Anyway, the first version of the Popa Chubby Band, I had at that time met a guy named Adam Gussow, who you probably know from Satan and Adam, right? And this was long before Adam ever met Satan, and Adam and I started playing on the streets together. And we did that, and then when I had the first version of the Popa Chubby Band, I wanted a harmonica player. So it was myself, Adam Gussow, a bass player and drummer who had moved to New York from L.A., who the bass player had been part of the whole, Laurel Canyon, Ricky Lee Jones scene and stuff, and a guitar player from New York named Simon Chartier, who was, to this day, is one of the most enigmatic creatures in New York. He's now a surfer and lives in Rockaway. There's a big surf scene in New York, by the way, Rockaway now. But this guy was the best guitar player in the world. And Don Castagno, who for years played with Debbie Davies after he played with me.
Who's also a good songwriter, by the way.
Don's a great songwriter, and Don was really the guy who started the Popa Chubby band with me. So that was the first Popa Chubby band, the first. And, we made a cassette demo in my living room, and Don and I proceeded out to look for gigs in New York, man. And, we went to every club, and we got up to a place called Manny's Car Wash up on the Upper East Side, and I met a gentleman named Buddy Fox, who I don't know if you guys know Buddy Fox at all. Buddy's been off the scene for quite some time, but Buddy Fox was maybe, in my humble opinion, the most important person in the New York blues, roots, and real music scene for 50 years. He originally booked the Village Gate. He then booked the Lone Star for many, many years and was the bartender. The Lone Star was a famous club on 13th Street, had a big iguana. I saw everybody there, man. And then after that, he booked Manny's Car Wash, which became the premier blues club in New York in the 90s. And I wound up being the house band. And through Buddy, I wound up getting... none of this would have ever happened for me if it wasn't for Buddy Fox. He entered me in a contest. At the time, it was the KLON radio, which was in Long Beach, California, National Blues Talent Search. And it was a lot like what the IBCs have become now. They had every city in New York have contestants, and if you won, and I was like, Buddy, I'm not doing a contest. And he's like, you're doing it. Shut up. Get on stage. Go ahead, play. Come on. That's it. That's how he was with me. It was like, like a really like, like my grandfather is like, get up there. What's the matter with you? Go ahead, play the blues. Right? Anyway, I wound up winning the New York one, and I went out to LA and I won the finals. And the finals were actually, this is pretty wild. It was me and a guy named Kevin Morris, who you know as Kev Mo. We came in first and second. The only reason I came in first is because I had a band, and Kev at the time was just playing solo. So, and I had a great band. Mike Merritt, who played with the Conan O'Brien band, was playing with me. Don Castagno. I had Seth Farber playing keyboards with me. Kevin and I have been friends ever since that. And to me, he's one of the most amazing songwriters in the blues. He really is. So that's where it all started, man. And here I am with you guys hanging out.
Well, that's a beautiful thing. And thank you for that. I mean, what a dose of history you just doled out. It's incredible. Do you play any other instruments?
I do, yeah.
Like what?
Anyone that gets in my way.
Oh.
I'm one of those people. I've been lucky enough to be able to pull a sound out of just about everything. Except I have twin daughters. One is a classical violinist and a very accomplished violinist, and the other is a trumpet player. And man, I can't tell. I don't know how she does that on that little tiny neck with no frets, man. And the trumpet, forget it, man. The trumpet's a whole nother thing, man. So anybody who plays brass or those kind of string instruments, I tip my hat to you. But I started out as a drummer. I started out playing drums, but because of where I lived and my circumstances, there was to be mama didn't allow no drum playing around here, if you get my drift. So I switched to guitar. But I still play drums every day. I play bass, I play keyboards. And that's why I'm so happy in my studio. I can create music 24/7. I can play the drums at 2 a.m. I live in the country, man. I'm just bothering the owls maybe, but they make more noise than me.
Well, you have backup singers then.
Exactly.
There you go. Just
yeah. What?
Can't
what?
Hear you.
I'm sorry, my microphone was out. Yeah. No. I was wondering. You've got such a deep catalog. Could you reach back again for something that hasn't been heard in a while?
Sure, I can. Oof. I'm gonna do. It's funny, man, because when you talk about how I came to the blues, in the beginning, there was no place in New York City to play the blues. The blues in New York City was very unpopular until the early 90s. In the 80s, when I got deeply into the blues, I also got into Delta blues and Robert Johnson and Blind Willie McTell. And another gentleman who was instrumental in that was my friend Jerry Williams, who had moved up here from Raleigh, North Carolina, and started a whole nother music scene. And he started turning me on to all this, like, old school, like Piedmont blues and Delta blues and stuff. And we used to play in the subways together, he and I, man. And this is a song I wrote around, I guess I wrote the song in the late 80s when I was playing in front of the Washington Square Park basketball court. It's a very famous place. You've seen it in a million TV shows, man. There's some serious ballers there. Like a lot of these cats could have been in the NBA, but they play there, man. And we were playing there. We had a huge crowd. I mean, huge, like 100 people. People were throwing money at the case. We were playing Muddy Waters songs and Robert Johnson songs and Crossroads, and it was just like everybody's having a good time. And right then, the police roll up. The crowd disperses. These cops come up to us, and they say, there's two things. And this was under the regime of the notorious Rudy Giuliani. When Giuliani became mayor of New York, he decided that certain things were not going to be tolerated anymore in New York. One of them was having fun and entertaining people. So they came up to us, and he actually told the police to crack down on people, crack down on street musicians, crack down on people hanging out, And the cops came up and said, here's the deal. We're taking your guitars. You give us any crap, you're going to jail. So they confiscated our guitars. Now, at the time, the guitar I was playing was a $99 pink BC Rich acoustic that I had bought at Sam Ash because it was the cheapest guitar there. Jerry, on the other hand, had a 1960 Gibson SG Les Paul, which now Jerry passed away. When he passed away, the guitar was sent to me. I now own his guitar. It's sitting right there in the rack, man. I play it every day. We had to go to the precinct first to try and reclaim our stuff, and we were told we had to go to court the next day in front of the judge. The judge told me that'll be a $250 fine. And I said, Your Honor, with all due respect, the guitar only costs $99, so why don't you keep it? That's exactly what I said. And case dismissed. I had no guitar. So this is called It's a Sad Day in New York City when there ain't no room for the blues.
I woke up this morning, got out of my bed. There was a message from my landlord. Said you got no place to lay your head. There's a fella down in Wall Street, got more due to pay. I'd be mighty grateful to you, son, if you'd just be on your way. I went down to my watering hole, my guitar to play, but the postman shut the door on me, said there ain't no room for the blues today. It's a sad day in New York City when there ain't no room for the blues. Like Howlin' Wolf driving a taxi cab, a Muddy Waters selling shoes. Times Square looks like Disneyland, getting stronger every day. It's a sad day in New York City when there ain't no place to play. That's right. Oh yeah, it was rough, baby. We went down to the park, and guitar, started playing a show. But the police didn't like no blues man, even though they was wearing blue. They took my guitar away from me, locked it in the stew. The judge said that's $200 if you want your guitar back. I said, with all due respect, Your Honor, stick it up Rudy Giuliani's crack. It's a bad day in New York City when there ain't no room for the blues. Like Howlin' Wolf driving a taxi cab, Muddy Waters selling shoes. You get 3 days for smoking marijuana. It's getting harder every day. It's a sad day in New York City when there ain't no place to play. Well, it's a sad day in New York City when there ain't no place to play. Give my regards to Old Broadway. Ain't no place to play.
Going back a ways.
Yeah, we love it though. Yeah,
love the history.
Another piece of important musical history. Well, listen,
street music was always really important in New York. That's how I got turned on to a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's where we all discover beautiful things. I know everywhere in the world I go, it's the music on the street rather than in the cathedral or the theater that really is stupendous. Listen, I'm hearing in my headphones what you know I would be hearing at this point in time. You've got to ask him to play the song that inspires us all and makes us all feel better when we're not feeling well, which you are really the person who delivers to us every single time. So I hate to ask you to do that again, but I'd actually love to ask you to play Hallelujah if you would.
It would be my great honor and pleasure. It's the most beautiful song ever written.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? You and I discussed your connection with Hallelujah and what this means to you when you play it and what's going on. And you and I had a pretty deep discussion about what's behind the song. Can you bring us into a little bit of that thinking so we can really be appreciating it when we hear it?
First, I have to say that I got to see Leonard Cohen twice in his last concert tour. And this was after he had been in a Buddhist monastery for some years. While still being a practicing Jew, somehow he found no conflict between the two, which just speaks of his character and his acceptance. He left the monastery when he found out all his money had been stolen, and he was completely broken by a financial advisor. So he came out to start touring again so he'd have money for his grandchildren. This song changed my life when I first heard it. I always heard Leonard Cohen stuff as the way Otis Redding would have done it, man, because it really is gospel in a large sense, and it really is R&B, man. And this song, more than all of them, the message behind this song. Now, there are a lot of verses in this song, and I can't claim to get them all right. So I want to apologize in advance if I mess any of them up. But the message in every word of this song, I mean, Leonard Cohen would spend 3 years writing one verse of a song. You know, I mean, to have that kind of commitment. The song, I read an article where Leonard's publisher's son, who considered Leonard to be his uncle, once wrote a letter to Leonard saying, "Uncle Leonard, what does this song mean?" And Leonard responded to him that the song was written to speak the glory of the divine in an imperfect, cracked world. And this is a man who wrote the line, "There's a crack in everything because that's where the light gets in." And we live in a temporal plane of imperfect existence. We're flawed, imperfect creatures. I like to say you get Popa Chubby with all the warts. And I don't hide it. I don't edit it. This is what I am, man. I may not be everybody's taste. Obviously, Frankie, my dog right now, is not liking what I'm saying right now. Or he's barking at a squirrel, one or the other. Probably a squirrel. But
it has to be a squirrel.
This truly was. This is another song I just started doing off the cuff, and people just loved it. And I've become associated with it. And I think there are way worse things in life to be. Look, man, I could have had a hit with Louie, man, and that wouldn't have been bad either, you know. So there you go. But I will play this for you, and I'll play with love and devotion. I think it's extremely important now for people to hear this message and to feel what's behind it, because it is my own personal belief and opinion is that the divine lives in each of us, and it lives in each of us perfectly and equally in every cell of our souls and in every thought in our minds, and it's our job to recognize it. We're in a constant state of choice between choosing between love and fear, and there's really no choice. The only choice is love. Love is stronger. Love is light. Love shuts out the darkness. So with this one, I offer this one up with love and respect, with intention for peace and understanding between all of us, black and white, any race, any gender, any orientation. Popa Chubby loves y'all. So here you go.
Say there is a secret chord David wrote in the please Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this. Before the fifth minor fall from major left, baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Baby, I've been here before, seen your face, I've walked these floors. Used to live alone before I knew you. I have seen your flag on the marble arch. Now lead some kind of victory march. A cold, it's a broken hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Said I took the name in vain. I did not even know the name. If I did, tell me what's it to you? Not a shot, heard a night, not somebody who's seen the light. It's a cold, it's a broken hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Oh yeah. Maybe there's a God above. All I ever learned from love, how to shoot at someone who outdrew you. And even though it all went wrong, stand before the God of song. Nothing in my soul but hallelujah. 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 Oh yeah. Hallelujah. 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 Oh yeah. There you go, the most beautiful song ever written.
I think most everyone.
Emotions.
And, thank you, Ted, for taking the time with us today, because, you've given us history, you've given us great music, you always bring an incomparable sense of humor and a lot of compassion and humanity. It's a joy to be with you, and you inspire us.
Same to you, and you too, Audrey.
Oh, thank you.
Well, we love you, and give our love to Mary Beth, and we will hope to be seeing you again, either this way or hopefully in person very soon.
Person soon, right?
Oh my gosh, I hope so.
We'll look for that.
Thank you for doing what you're doing. Keep it up, and let's keep fighting the good fight and make the world a better place to live in.
We'll do it.
Hey, one song at a time.
Okay.
Amen.
We love you. Thank you.
Right on. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Ted.